Alright, here we are. This is the new piston that's going in. And what we need to take into account for is the hole in the skirt, the guide for the ring, as you can see it in there. I hope you can get a good view. And the ring, where it separates, I hope you can see that, where it separates here, has to be on that little pin. Also on the top of the piston, it's very difficult to see, but if you were to buy the kit, you would see that it has an arrow. That arrow right there points towards the exhaust. So when we install this piston, it's going to go in like this, with this hole up towards the top, and the separation in the ring is going to be over towards this side right there. A couple other things is I have some white lithium grease. This is what I use as some temporary lubricant when I'm building a motor. I put a little bit on the piston, a little bit in the sleeve to make sure everything's lubricated, so when we start it up, it's not a dry motor and we don't damage anything. As you can see here, this is one of the little boogers that I just lost in the garage, and I'm happy to know that I heard it hit the ground. If I hadn't heard it hit the ground, then I would be fishing through the motor right now trying to find it. And trying to make this video, I was pulling it loose and didn't expect it to come loose, but it did, and it went airborne. So what I'm going to do here is go ahead and install one of these. And when I install this, when I put the ring in, I want to put it in this way, like this. I don't want to put it in this way, because the piston goes up and down, and if this was to come loose, it's just my preference. I like to put it in that way. So let me install this. One more try here. Hopefully we can get that to go in there. It's almost in there. There it is. Did you guys hear that snap sound? That one's in there. Well, I kind of installed it on the wrong side. I like to install it on the other side and push it through, but that'll work. What we're going to have to do now is lube up the wrist pin, and we are going to slide it in here on the piston rod. So it's a little bit of lube that should slide right in there. There we go, just like that. And that'll slide onto the piston rod itself. I'll push that back out. I'll pull it out in a minute here. Something else you need to be aware of is the base gasket. This square goes towards the top, so when we put this piston on the motor, it's going to go in like this. This is going to go towards the top. This hole is going towards the top, just like that. Something to be aware of also. This is another piece. It's going to go on the top of the jug here. It's going to go like that. This motor didn't come with a heatsink head, or this upgrade didn't come with a heat seat head. So we're going to go ahead and use the stock one. And we also have these little guys that are going to screw in here. And we'll get that right before we put this on. So we're going to get this, and we're going to get this ready, and we're going to install it. Here's our piston. Here is our connecting rod, and there is the bearing. And what we're going to do is slide this through onto that bearing. But before we do any of that, we're going to lube it up. So I'm going to grab a little bit of lube here, put it on all the parts of the wrist pin. As you can see, there's some in there, and I like to let it get in there, see? And we're going to put some lube in the bearing as well. Just want to be sure that everything's lubed up real well. I don't want anything to run dry. And it doesn't take much, because the oil pump, it already has a little bit of lube on it anyway, and the oil pump will take over since it starts up. There you go. And don't forget, this goes up, and the arrow here, if you can see it in this picture, needs to point down. So let's line this up here, and I'm going to push it in. There we go. There, and it slides in gently. And you need to be very gentle, because if you're pushing, you don't want to push against the connecting rod. You want to push, see how it slides back and forth? You want to push against the piston. So you don't want to push it all the way over and then start pushing. You want to do it very gently. And then when it gets all the way in, you'll feel it push, and it'll just simply stop. And as it has for me right now. I'm not going to do it on camera, but this little booger has to go in over here, and I'm going to put it in just like this on the side. I don't want to take the chance of this thing flying off and not covering it up and losing it. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera off and install this pin. My handy dandy pliers with a little angle on it. So I will grab it like this with the angle pliers from the top, and then I will simply push it in, as well as compress it. So I'm not going to do that on camera. Okay, I ended up holding this side down and then pushing the pin in, and it's not all the way in yet, but if you hear a little pop, then you know it's gone all the way in. There it is, that little snap. You know that it's gone all the way in. And I just heard that snap, the final piece there. Now what we're going to do is we are going to slide this gasket for the base of the jug right there, and then we are going to put some lube on this here, and then we're going to put a little bit of lube on the head. Now when sliding the head down, it is very, very important that you have your ring on the guide. I can't stress this enough. And when we slide the head down, I am going to be compressing the ring with my fingers, and I want to be sure that it's on a guide like there. And you'll know that you're not on the guide if there's a big hump in the ring sticking out. Also, like I said, a lubricant, and never in any way, shape, or form force it on. You can wiggle it and jiggle it, but no forcing. So when you force it on, it's a good chance that your ring is not on its guide, and you're just going to create problems and end up screwing up the head and the piston and waste your money and time. So the next step we will be doing is we will be pulling this out, lubing this, and lubing the head. And after that's all lubed, then we'll drop the jug down on top of it.